Hello everyone and welcome back to the Oxford-Cambridge 2023 Esports Varsity match. Now of course we have our keynote speaker segments coming up and it's going to be Matt from AFK. I'm going to hand this to you and let you talk about what you do and how you get on with life.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Just a quick talk from me. So Mir's invited me, very last minute. I'm Matt, CEO of AFK. What is AFK? We're a attention marketing agency from gaming and esports, so we represent pro players like in Valorant, FNS. We represent content creators in games like League of Legends, like LS and Nemesis. And then we're also a marketing agency, so we help all of those Raid Shadow Legend ads that you see on Twitch. We help launch games for Amazon, like New World and Lost Ark. And we also work with brands like HelloFresh and Manscaped and many more. But not really here to talk about me. I just want to talk about a bit of a call to arms to get people actually to explore esports and gaming as an industry. My own path, I was at Oxford doing my masters, played too much League, started making some content and got to know other creators in the space. And that then led me to trying to get a job in the space without any success. Couldn't get an interview anywhere. And so I decided to set up my own venture, and that spiraled out of my living room into a multinational company. And so today we have Echo. We're 70 people from all around the world. We work, as I mentioned, with some of the biggest companies like Meta and Amazon and obviously Raid Shadow Legends. But there's a big need in the space for really talented, intelligent, driven people like yourselves. I've worked with every single esports org, which is today's about, and often they're built off the back of one or two really hardworking, motivated people in their 20s, early 20s. And I really just encourage people to take any opportunity they can find in the space. And if it doesn't exist, let's say you're doing law right now, and esports law is a bit of an underdeveloped space, to say the least. It's one or two contracts that get copy-pasted. And everyone uses the same one for their pro player contracts, whether it's for $1,000 a month or $40,000. You can build that opportunity for yourself. And I think my story, I was just at uni, spending way too much time playing games, and then thought, hey, I'm not going to go pro. I was an Ivan one trick, so that was a waste of time. And I thought, hey, where's the opportunities lying? And unfortunately, there's not professional companies outside of game developers that are going to present themselves to you. So definitely reach out to orgs, game publishers, startups, or build your own, and just reach out to people in the space. I think what's great about this passionate, open community we have is everyone wants to help everyone. So whether it's an alumni like myself or anybody, just hit them up on Twitter, LinkedIn, and they'll want to give you the opportunities that unfortunately we couldn't have. I was in varsity in 2016, 2017, and we had players playing on a trackpad. So it was pretty tragic, and we didn't have a nice, amazing space like this Red Bull gaming sphere. And yeah, really excited for what the future of gaming and esports has to have. Obviously, it's a bit of a tough time now, but people here can shape the future in all parts of the industry, whether it's inventing a new gaming chair or helping represent players and content creators like we do. So that was my speech. Hope everybody had a great day today. Pretty sad if you're from Oxford, like I am. But, maybe we'll win League and there'll just be some hopium for day 2. So thanks, everybody.
Perfect.
Welcome, Kit.
Thank you. Good afternoon, all. Whenever I've done these bits before, we always get to the end and there's way more questions than I ever anticipate there could be. So we're going to leave a little bit of room for that. My name's Kit. I'm not originally from esports. I'm from football. I worked at Arsenal Football Club. I worked at Cambridge United Football Club. And my role, as you can see, is head of academy, head of safeguarding. So what happens in an elite context and moving that through into how can we utilise that in esports. So when you talk about the maturity of esports and where esports is going, I think everyone agrees that having an academy that prioritises young people as part of that and prioritises opportunities is essential in making that work. So that's the crux of what I do. Everything we come back to is to provide opportunities. So when we look at a real grassroots level, we have 7, 8, 9-year-old primary school kids coming in, and we use esports as the conduit to teach coding or English or maths. And it's amazing, people hate maths until they're doing it to play a video game and suddenly they don't see it. So how can we use that? And I think when you look at that age group, coding will be the skill with which that'll define their generation almost, is coding and their interactions. So one of the things we do is we do that with 8, 9-year-olds, but we do that all the way up through. So there's people we've had in from a university standpoint, that it's also providing opportunities to you guys, and routes in. That's nuts, by the way. I've never had that bit. Do you want me to pause, or are we good?
No, sorry, we're trying to get this in. I've got exactly what I heard.
So yeah, one of the bits we do is you think about an 8-year-old, a 9-year-old, how we do that from coding standpoint, but also up to you guys at university. So one of the bits we try and do is get you guys in to see behind the scenes. When you look at football and other sports, it's a massive amount of smoke and mirrors. So if you sat down with 100 people and said, who's been to a football ground or who's been in a changing room, the answer's bordering on 0.5%, if that. So one of the things we want to do is bring people in to show them and understand what we do and why we do it. Because as part of that, it's a big part of sharing. My belief is that by sharing all the good stuff we do, then that spreads across esports. If you're doing something really good and keeping it to yourself, that doesn't benefit anyone else in here, that doesn't benefit the wider ecosystem. And I think when you look at esports and what esports needs, it's people sharing stuff, it's people understanding stuff, and it's people providing opportunities. One of the big bits that I read last week was, everyone follows esports news, and Dom Sacco, and he did his piece on volunteering in esports. I think that's a really interesting piece of between, you've got small bedroom orgs where it's volunteering, but us as Guild, one of the things we want to do is bring people in and provide paid opportunities for that. So we do that through our BTEC program, our players. So when we look at very much a structural standpoint, one of the funny things, and looking at this from an elite perspective, is all of our players will come in 90 minutes before their fixture or their match, and what they'll do is they replicate the same thing that happens at a football club. So at a football club, you'd come in, you'd drop your bags off, you go out onto the pitch, you take some photos, you go back in, you get changed, then you get ready, you do your physical prep, then you line up and you're a bit more purposeful practice, then back into the changing room and then out. That's exactly what we do. So every player we have on site comes in, they shake everyone's hands in the building, they then drop their stuff off, get their setup set up. Some of them are 5 minutes, some of them are 20 minutes, just customizing their keyboard settings for the X amount of time, providing those kind of bits, and then they go forwards into that. They'll go and do a warm-up in the gym, they'll then have a chat with the coach, and it's as much replicating that elite performance as possible. The bit I always come back to with, is esports performance elite? And the question is, we're getting there. You look at video analysis, you look at data analysis, but at professional football clubs, their academies, they monitor the urine of their under-18s every day. That's what professional looks like. Okay, so when we've got people playing for 100k, 500k, a mil, that's where it'll move towards, okay, because that's what professional looks like. And my big belief is that other sports have done it. It's a case of taking those lessons and building it into esports. So how do we take those things that are relevant to us and make them so that you just become normal as you go through, and how do you take those things that are not relevant and push them away? Okay, so one of the big bits we do with that is carrying that through. What we also look at as well is there's a huge bit from bigger orgs that, let's take Fortnite for as an example, if you spike into the top 50 or the top 30, suddenly you get signed. Okay, so what we look at as a broader piece, and this is very much from an academy standpoint, is there's a lot of understanding and a lot of kind of push at that very top level, that very top percent. No one's actually looking just underneath that. So we look at the best prospects we can find just below that. So from the championship, for example, from a football context, that are not just in there, but we think that we can put a performance structure in place for them. Okay, and we talk about professionalism. We now use data to look at those best players in those areas. Now, I've used Fortnite as an example, but that's exactly the same thing for CSGO. That's exactly the same thing for Valorant. So one of the bits you'd look at is from a composition standpoint. So if we look at Valorant, who's getting the opening frags and putting that together. So as much as Moneyball, which I'd hope you'd have seen at this point, it's kind of a popular culture reference, Moneyball, is taking lessons from that and trying to see how do you build a team, how do you structure a team so that you've got all of those parts. Okay, so when we look at all of that, that's how we take players that are good and kind of bordering on that, And we will always look for players that haven't had a coach or haven't had a physio or haven't had a sports scientist. So when they come into us, they have access to all of that. We can look at them from a mental health standpoint. We can put them in front of the likes of people that they admire or they look up to, and we can do all of that within an education context. And one of the bits I'm, I guess, a little outspoken about, whether I should be or shouldn't be, is there isn't really an org in this country that has really dedicated itself to grassroots in this country. I know that Fnatic have done a bit, and other orgs have done a bit, Endpoint do a fair bit, but to actually really dedicate themselves to what they're doing in this country and support you guys, but support all of that down to 8, 9-year-olds, I don't personally believe has happened. Now, I'm more than happy to be called out on that or quoted on that. One of the bits we're doing this year is we're going to work with 1,000 young people to provide opportunities. Now, what I mean by that is that mirrors that of a community trust. So we will bring kids in to learn English and maths and coding, as we touched on, but also give them access to learn about mental health and use video games. For me, the reason I love it is video games is the biggest vehicle with which to teach anything. You can teach teamwork, you can teach IT skills, you can teach coding, you can do all of that through video games. And the big bit I come back to is the people that specialise in that and have had an awareness of that then mean they can interact with people online, but they can interact with them in person, and it's trying to bring people together for that. So when I'm outspoken about dedication to grassroots in this country, I'm very fortunate. I run an academy, so it's our job to support grassroots in this country. That's what we do. And I'm conscious that other orgs might not have that kind of luxury. But one of the things we want to do is we want to redefine what that looks like. So us providing opportunities for 1,000 kids, that's this year. What do we do next year? Okay, how can we look at running university tournaments? How can we look at supporting you guys? And we don't have all the answers. I don't have all the answers. But I think one of the bits we want to do is, and I want to say is, I'm so open to anyone in this room, online, wherever, with any of your ideas. Come to us. We want to support them. We want to encourage them. We want to show you what we're about. We want to bring you behind the smoke and mirrors of an elite sports organisation, because that doesn't happen. And I think there's lessons that people take from that in their personal lives, in their relationships, but also broader into a work context. All right, so that's what we want to do. And I think there are orgs in this country that are starting to do that, but us saying 1,000 kids and doing that at a 50-50 gender split and doing all-girls coding classes, we're trying to work with a local care home to bring them in to do opportunities for them. I really think esports and video games is how we not only bring people together, but provide opportunities for them. And I know there's a little bit this year, and you look at phases, stock, or where's the industry going to be in 5 years. For me, I think it's one of those where you look at what growth is, and growth is people changing and industries changing and people having to redefine what that approach looks like. For us as an academy, that's what that approach looks like. It's grassroots, it's opportunities, it's empowering everyone to not only be the best they can be, but provide them opportunities to grow within that. And that's the crux of my message is we can talk to players and we can provide that, but we wanted to go out there and do something that supports grassroots esports in this country. Us saying we're going to do 1,000 kids, that's the start of what we want to do. We want to provide paid internships, we want to do work experience, we want to do grad schemes, we want to do everything like that. Okay, so I know that perhaps looking back, Guild Academy and some of those bits have been done well, and some of those bits perhaps haven't had the legacy that they want to do. And one of the bits that we're doing is taking our lessons from traditional sport and providing a legacy, and that legacy is for you guys. So I would say that you can email, you can message, you can tweet, whatever. Our door is open. We want to do fun stuff because, as I said at the start, I'm not from esports, but I've put structures in place. I need you guys and I need all of you to give and come with those ideas that we can make a reality. Otherwise, we're just going to not be able to do it what you guys need. We want to build the system, we can build it, but we need esports to be a part of that. And that's the overarching message I've got for everything. So I don't know if you've got any questions. I'm more than happy to take it. Let me know. As I said, I wanted to leave some space for that, and thank you all for your time today. It's wonderful to be invited. Thank you. Do we have any questions? So I was there, I moved this time last year, almost to the day. So we started, and then I took over the academy in September, with very much focus on elite players, because for me, that's the easiest bit. That's the bit that I've always done. Then it was a case of community and then college. So we've kind of got 3 strands. We're running a college program. where it's a case of actually giving people the opportunity to deliver stuff. So I can give you our social media for the weekend and you write your project and what you learned running the social media account. Stuff like that, that perhaps isn't so much done. So I'm a big believer in delivery over discussion. You know, we can sit, we can go back, we can pen an idea, I can change it a little bit. By the time you actually get around to doing it, it's 3 weeks and we've missed the chance. So one of the bits we want to do is actually say, no, it's okay if you get it wrong, it's okay, but that's how you learn. And then when you're going out into the workplace, you know, when we hire people, I look for what they've done. You know, even a couple of years ago, I still had modules I studied at uni on my CV. I'm 28 now. I probably should have done more stuff that something, I liked sociology, that probably shouldn't be on there anymore. So one of the bits we want to do is provide delivery opportunities so that you can sit in front of someone and go, well, I did this and I did that. So yeah, we've been there, I've been there a year and I think probably 6 months in the current role. Any other questions?
What's the rationale behind sort of trying to fit these traditional methods from sort of professional sports?
Yeah.
Traditional sports and football into esports players, trying to get them to do the same thing, giving them the same sort of practice.
Yeah. For me, I think it's as simple as you look at how much money's in football and NFL. Just as an example, they have spent billions, probably every year. The Premier League's worth, insert a figure. The clubs within that and the levels they go to for performance have very swiftly become, you know, Liverpool hired NASA data scientists to look at their transfers. That's the level of understanding and delivery that is going in at that top level. It's not just 11 people that turn up on a Sunday. If we can take any of their learnings to fast track our performance, that's what's important. Okay, so what I think there's a whole ton of elite things that currently don't happen in esports. You know, there's tons. When you look at football and monitoring physical stuff, you look at mentally they'll have check-ins, the whole support team around them, the amount of video analysis they do, the amount of data analysis they do. So, as an example, they'll have a data point for every single time someone kicks a ball and how they kick it on a match day. Okay, now we have access, potentially have access to all of that information around performance. You know, you only have to look at lock-in to see teams that have done their research on different bits and coach interventions and stuff like that. That's where it will move more and more towards. I just think, you know, as an elite entity, esports is very much within, you know, at an amateur level. You know, from an elite standpoint, when you look at NFL and you look at football and you look at tennis and you look at all of those elite sports, why wouldn't you want to take the lessons that have cost them hundreds of millions of pounds to learn and implement them at this point? Because I believe through doing that, you know, you not only create better players, but you create better people. You know, we want to create, every player we have comes in, shakes everyone's hands in the building. Everyone that they come in, they present back to our staff members. Now that, even as a life skill, you know, I think is really important, and I think it creates people that are grounded, but people that are willing to work, and there's a huge culture element around that. That I'm not saying doesn't exist within esports, but I want it to exist in, you know, the teams that we run. Good question. Any others? Fantastic. Oh. It's not quite there yet. That's one of the bits we want to do. One of the bits we want to do is prove that our kind of path to pro system works. What I mean by that is, for uni students, if you guys want to run a league, or you guys want to do an events thing at ours, or you know, you want to plan a watch along at ours, we can do that. We can do that next week. That's what, like, it's not stuff like that. You know, we can. About 20 meters up there. So yeah, one of the bits we talk about delivery over discussion. You know, for me and the role I do, you know, I've got the best job in the world. I get to work with young people in esports. That's nuts. You know, I'm probably only going to be able to do this for 5 years before you take my job. So I'm going to have to enjoy it. Okay. One of the bits we want to do is I want the person that does take my job to be really good at their job. Okay. So when we're saying about approach us with stuff, the worst we can say is no, we can't make that work. That's literally the worst. But if you go, let's take an example. You want to host a watch along upstairs for the CSGO final in however long, or for the next Valorant game, or we've got Game Changers starting up. Guild X should have a good run. We want to do a watch along for the final for universities, and this is what we need to make it happen. We can do all of that. You know, that's, you know, but and this is the bit I kind of emphasise, is you've got to know what you're good at and what you're not good at. And I'm learning more about esports every single day, but I don't know what you guys know. But in the same way you don't know what I know about setting up and running operations or departments or sports clubs. But I don't have the ideas. So if you've got an idea, we really are open to it as an academy. As I said, we might say no, we might say we can't do it, or that sponsor can't help us, or ... But even then you learn through it. So come in and present to us and understand what's good and what works and what doesn't work. We've got the luxury of, we can do whatever, and can I go, hey look, we're working with young people in esports and providing opportunities, okay? That's the worst thing that could happen. Wonderful. Got time for one more. If there is one more, I'm happy to call it there. It's just the last time I went to end it, someone else had a question, so I just thought I'd do a little bit of a monologue for someone to... Perfect. Have a wonderful day. Enjoy yourselves, love it. We're literally just up there. So if you guys want a tour, I think we said we'd do one at 3:30ish. So pop on up. We're more than happy to show you the HQ and everything in between. And we're more than happy to host you in the future as well. So thank you. It's very lovely to be invited for these things. I don't take it lightly. So it's very, very kind. And anything we can do, just reach out to us on Twitter. Thank you.